So guys, this is the beginner's guide to writing critically. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Winnie. A lot of students migrate from Africa and other parts of the world where you are subjected to exam-based questions in order to pass and move ahead to the next level. However, in United Kingdom, majorly you will be writing essays and you need to write critically. Or oftentimes you've written essays if you're already in the UK and you're given feedback and you're told, this is too descriptive. Well, guys, I'm here to help out, okay? That's what I always do. What is critical writing? Critical writing is a thoughtful, focused, and questioning approach to understanding an issue. So it is thoughtful, it is focused, and is a questioning approach. So you need to be mindful of these three terms. Thoughtful means that you've gone through what you're about to write, you've thought over it. It has to be balanced thinking. You've weighed your options, the pros, the cons, the advantages, the disadvantages. That's what it means to be thoughtful. Now it needs to be focused. You don't want to be pushing your readers from one idea to another. You need to focus their attention on something, a message you're trying to pass across. So that message needs to be explicit. It needs to be clearly stated, all right? And you need to adopt a questioning approach. It means you're not just taking things from face value. You're questioning, why is it so? How? Why? How did this happen? What's the reason behind this? What could have been done better? What is the effects, all right? What is the advantages? What is the disadvantages? What's the rationale? You're questioning things. That's what it means to write critically. Another thing is, it's not just criticizing issues or identifying the faults, all right? I know from the word critical, you might think of criticizing. Critical writing is not just criticizing issues. You are not just there to pick out the faults. This person said so thing, but however, this is wrong. John said that the bag is blue, but the bag is not blue. The bag is actually white. That's not what you're there to do. You're not there to identify faults, all right? While you write critically, of course, you would be able to identify the lapses, the gaps in knowledge, but your emphasis is not just identifying the faults in issues. So when you're critically writing or critiquing an issue in your essay, don't just look at it from the standpoint of, this is wrong. What is the mistake? Let me identify the mistake. Critical writing also means that you're looking at the good and the bad, the positives and the negative. That way you're making a balanced argument. So quit focusing on just the negatives. Also focus your attention on the positives so you have something balanced to work with. Another idea is, it is refusing to accept the conclusion of writers without evaluating the arguments presented. You've read something somewhere. For example, you read somewhere that malaria is a killer disease. You don't need to automatically present that in your writing and say malaria is a leading cause of death. If you notice here, I have paraphrased, okay? From reading malaria is a killer disease, I've paraphrased it to malaria is the leading causes of death. But that is not being critical. It doesn't mean that you are accepting. Somebody said malaria is a killer disease. Do I need to necessarily accept that it is true? You need to be sure that there is an argument that is evidenced, okay? So you are not just accepting it because somebody said. Where's the proof? Like, what's the evidence? How do you know that this is really true? How do you know? How have you come about that fact that malaria is a killer disease? How did you come to that conclusion? So that is what you're supposed to do as a critical writer. You're trying to evaluate how writers have come to their conclusions, just to be sure that this conclusion is actually true. Another thing you should be mindful of is that it means you're not accepting things at face value. Somebody presents something to you, tells you that this is A is letter A. You're not just accepting that it is actually letter A. You're digging deeper. You're trying to find out the underlying factors, the reasons behind such statements. You're trying to dig in to get more information. That's what critical writing is all about. So you're not just accepting something because somebody says it. It doesn't matter if that's a renowned writer, a popular writer. No, you're not just accepting it. Another thing you should be mindful of is that critical writing means you're digging deeper to understand underlying factors and limitations within arguments. Somebody tells you that HIV is HIV is caused by mosquitoes, for example. Anybody can wake up and say that HIV is caused by mosquitoes. But you need to look beyond that statement. Why have you said HIV is caused by mosquitoes? Who said that? Based on what evidence? For how long has it been occurring? Okay, so you need to gather your facts right. Digging deeper, that's what critical writing is all about. Now let's move to the next slide. What are the components of critical writing? Number one, a clear evaluation of the issues and the conclusion drawn. So if you've written your essay, these are points you should be mindful of. Is there any clear evaluation of that issue? Have you evaluated objectively? Have you looked at the positives, the negatives, the goods, the bad, the factors, the determinants, the relevance, significance, the arguments against, arguments for? Have you looked at all these things? Okay. Now, another thing is reasoned arguments, judgments, and justification. So, whenever you're writing, think about, you make a statement. What is the justification? How do I justify what I just said? I'm walking up to someone or writing down in my book that cancer is very dangerous. So, like, how do you come about that conclusion? That should be what you're after. So it's not just making statements, it's about being able to justify what was said. So if you've made a statement, the following sentences should be able to tell the reader the justification behind that sentence or that statement you've made. Another point to be mindful of is that it is identification of agreements and disagreements. Balanced, okay? There has to be a balanced argument. What are the agreements? How many writers have agreed that cancer is dangerous? What other writers have disagreed that it is not dangerous? You need to present it. Okay? So you need to be as objective as possible. Okay? So when you're telling me, similarly, Mr. A agreed that cancer is dangerous, leading to the deaths of millions around the world. Don't just tell me it is dangerous or mention only the writers that have supported this argument. You should be able to present writers who have disagreed on that topic or that issue, okay? So you show the agreements, you show the disagreements. Another thing is, there has to be an evaluation of the strengths and weaknesses. For example, you're putting forward a theory, you're putting forward a new method of doing something. Make sure you talk about the strengths and the limitations, okay? You're writing maybe an essay. You should tell me what the strengths or limitations are of that approach, okay? Don't just talk about the goods only. Remember, always remember, writing critically is not just criticizing, okay? It's giving a balanced argument. Another fact is that you need to have an identification of the relevance. Why is this issue relevant? Okay, this should be done towards the introduction of your essay. You talk about the relevance of the issue. You've mentioned the issue. You've mentioned the problem. Say, for example, you're talking about maternal mortality. Of course, you define what maternal mortality is. You've told the writer what maternal mortality is. What about the relevance? Why is it so much an issue? Okay, why are you presenting it as an argument? Why? The why has to be clearly stated. So you need to identify the relevance. Now let's move to the next slide. This is a simple model for critical writing. Critical writing has to show a clear and logical argument. Clear and logical arguments. Okay? It has to be reasoned. It has to be thoughtful. It has to be focused. It has to be clear, precise. Okay? You don't want to be confusing your readers. Your readers should look at it at one glance and know what you're exactly the message you're trying to present. Okay? So it has to have a valid evidence that sufficiently supports the conclusion. Now, you have presented an argument, okay? What about the evidence? So whenever you're writing, always have this at the back of your mind. Issue, evidence. Issue, evidence. Issue, evidence. Don't mention an issue without justification. You can't be telling me that maternal mortality is a very significant public health issue. You need to tell me why. A better way to maybe show me the significance of this problem is to tell me 60% of women in Africa have died due to maternal mortality causes in the year 2020. Similarly, in North America, 20% of women have died from maternal mortality. In Asia, so percent of women have died from maternal mortality. This is now giving me facts, giving me figures, okay, giving me statistics to back up that statement you've made. So that is your evidence. All right. Evidence can be in form of what writers have written. It can be in form of statistical reports, just something to back up what you've said, so it doesn't look like you're just saying whatever comes to your mind. Okay. Another thing you need to avoid is generalizations. You don't want to make general statements. Please avoid it like a plague. Don't generalize. Okay. There is no need to assume anything. You need to be factual when you are writing. Okay. Now, let me give you a difference between what descriptive writing is and what critical writing is. Descriptive writing is just giving you an overview, like a summary of the whole issue, okay? You are just stating what is already there, what is obvious to the eye, what can be seen, okay? What is clearly seen. That is being descriptive. You are just describing, okay? But when you are critically writing, you are including your ideas. So what? You're questioning the argument. You're questioning what is already known. You're thinking about the reasons behind arguments and conclusion. Why has John et al. Said that malaria is a killer disease? Why has John et al. Concluded in his writing that drastic measures needs to be taken in order to address malaria in Africa? Why has John et al. Suggested that the government needs to create more hospital facilities to improve the health outcomes of people diagnosed with malaria? You are thinking about the whys. You're thinking about the reasons behind the actions. You're thinking about the arguments against that issue. Why has Jonathan et al. Disagreed with John? Why does Jonathan think that the government does not necessarily need to create more health facilities? Rather, they need to invest in health education. Why does he think that way, that that's the more important approach to take to tackle malaria? Why? So it means you're bringing all the sides to an issue and presenting an argument based on all these many sides. Okay. Now let's move on. Critical language. There are some languages, there are some key terms, there are some phrases that helps you write critically. Now, one very good source that you should be looking at, which is absolutely free, is the Manchester Phrase Bank. Now, you can type into your Google browser Manchester Phrase Bank and it will bring in a lot of ideas. And the good thing is that you can use this and it doesn't count as plagiarism. Okay. Now, in the subsequent videos I'll be making, I'll be talking you through how to write critically, giving you practical examples using the Manchester Phrase Bank. Now, let's move on. A critical essay structure. Now, your essay structure, first thing you need is paragraphs. Paragraphs helps you to break down your argument so that your essay can be engaging to the reader. Okay, so each paragraph might address a particular issue. Let's say you're talking about malaria. You can say you're structuring your work into 5 paragraphs, or you can say paragraph 1 will be about an overview of malaria, definition, significance, using statistical values, statistical results. Paragraph 2 can be talking about the causes of malaria. Okay. Paragraph 3, you can be talking about the effects of malaria. If you now want to make it broad, you can say effect on the individual as paragraph 3, maybe paragraph 4, effect on the government. You understand? So it's you breaking down your work into sections, okay, just to make sure that that work is not looking clumsy and confusing to the reader. Okay, it helps the flow. Another thing is that each paragraph should have a topic sentence, which is the main idea. So if you're having a paragraph, make sure at the beginning of that paragraph you have a topic sentence that tells the reader what to expect while they read through your paragraph. That means that everything indicated in that paragraph should reflect that topic sentence, which is the main idea. Okay. Another thing is that you should explain in clear terms the topic sentence. You don't want your readers getting confused after reading the first sentence. They don't know what you're trying to say. So make it as clear and explicit as possible. Remember, avoid generalizations. Another thing to be mindful of is show evidence. I said it before. Evidence, that main idea. What is your proof? Why should your statement be relied upon? Give us the evidence. It can be statistics. It can be what other writers have said. Give us your evidence. Another thing is widen your discussion. Show evidence from other writers that either support with that sentence or disagree. So do not forget to conclude. So these are the simple structure that you should include in your critical writing. I'll take it over again. Number 1, have a paragraph. Number 2, have a clear topic sentence in your paragraph. Number 3, define the topic sentence. Make it very clear and explicit. Number 4, evidence your topic sentence. And number 5, widen the discussion. Include areas of agreement and disagreement and make sure you have a conclusion. So guys, this is it for today's video. Like I said, this is an introduction to critical writing. In the subsequent video, I will be showing you a practical example of a critical writing essay, perhaps a paragraph, and then we'll be putting these ideas into action. You wouldn't want to miss that video. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to like. I would like to see your comments in the comment section and I'll be sure to respond. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And until my next video, guys, keep winning and enjoying life. I love you guys. Bye for now. Thank you.